was filled with incredible highs and very low lows. At 50, I married again to Glenn. He was a wonderful man. He loved me. We were very happy. He treated me like an angel. A couple of years into our marriage, I was diagnosed with stage 3B breast cancer, and it was bad. 6 months of chemo, a double mastectomy, 33 rounds of radiation, and another year of treatment. I was on the fence a couple of those months. They weren't certain I was going to make it, and nor was I. I remember just pleading with God to save my life, and He did. I pulled through it, but came out of it with a horrific addiction to narcotic medication, nerve pills, sleeping pills, eventually alcohol. And about the time I realized that I was in real trouble, that I had to do something drastic, which meant treatment, Glenn was diagnosed with cancer. And they said that his cancer was typically not life-threatening, that he could live for 10 years. But Glenn only lived 10 weeks. And the next 6 months, my life just plummeted into darkness. I checked out of my life. Eventually, I began smoking crack, and the last 3 months, I smoked crack every single day. And I'm talking like $1,000, $1,500 worth a day. I remember one of my daughters telling my other daughter that she didn't think I had another one in me, and she was right. On December 9th, 2012, I looked in the mirror and I saw a dead woman. I was dead and I knew it. I was 99 pounds of skin and bones, literally no muscle mass. I was mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially depleted. I was a shell of a woman. And I remember thinking that it would be so easy just to slip away. Everything I had, everything I loved, I had lost. I basically thought my life was over. I didn't know what the future looked like. All I knew was I just didn't want to die. A neighbor found Miracle Hill on the website, just out of the blue. I know now there are no coincidences in life, that God orchestrates everything. And I arrived at Shepherd's Gate on December 20th, 2012, right at Christmas time. The staff there they loved on me. They looked at me with the eyes of Jesus. They loved me unconditionally, and they built me up, and they told me I was worthy. And eventually I made it to renewal after 3 months at Shepherd's Gate, and it was there where I learned who Jesus really is. I learned that no one was going to rescue me. I learned that God had to be enough. And on the 1-year anniversary of Glenn's death, I was able to say goodbye to him the right way. I went down to the gazebo, this beautiful gazebo on the grounds at Renewal. It was covered in roses, and I remember going down there, and I remember thinking that I needed to be still. And I also remember thinking that I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I realized that on that day when I lied in bed with him, I knew he was dying. And when he didn't take that last breath, that at that moment, at that precise moment, that God gave him the peace that surpasses all understanding. Because God knew a year later that I would be at renewal and that I would be okay. And I too got that peace. And throughout this time, Greg would come through and he would bring tours through, typically smaller groups, and he would always stop, and I would always meet whomever he brought with him. And at this particular time, I gave my whole testimony just about. And I remember seeing his eyes, and I could tell that he was really moved. I'm not certain that I had really told him a whole lot about what had happened. And the woman just looked at me like just unconditional love. That's what you find at renewal.
She was right. She was probably the most broken woman I've ever seen, I've ever laid eyes on, at least physically. What I could see then was a light in Donna. Even then, I could see it in her eyes. And so it's been a joy and a privilege to kind of watch what God has done in Donna's life over this past couple of years, and to hear her story in bits and pieces along the way, and then finally getting to hear all of her story has just been a real encouragement to me personally, and then to get to share her story is just a real privilege and a joy, because I think that's the most exciting part is that we're all a work in progress. And so I see a lot of my story and Donna's story, so I can connect. There's a lot of brokenness in me as well, and so I learn a lot from Donna every day. She's probably one of the most grateful people that you'll meet, and for somebody who gets to work for Miracle Hill and to say thank you, she encourages me, because she's always saying thank you, and she's always so grateful for what God's put back in her life. It really is just a joy to know her and to watch what God's doing next. I'm grateful to be a part of her story and that she's a part of mine.
Miracle Hill is a family. Even when you graduate, you never have to leave the family. You can always serve. When I graduated, I asked if I could volunteer at the administrative office, and they said yes, and I was there exactly 1 hour and was offered an internship. I was the first renewal graduate who served as an intern, and I was 2 cubicles over from Greg. Sometimes I hear him on the phone with donors, and I hear him pray from the heart, and it just warms my heart, because I know the love that they feel over the phone is the same love that I felt all through this time. But God has been so good to me. He covers us up with Miracle Hill. It is as much as you want it to be. It can take you as far as you want it to take you, and that family is always there.